Hi,
Hey guys, it's Mark.
Michelle,
Uh-huh.
and this is Mark and Michelle.
Yep, that's right. Episode 34.
30 something.
34.
34.
And on December 1st, 2018. And I'll tell you what we'll talk about today really quickly, but then we'll get started on our week and how our week has gone. We're just going to give a general process of how to get started on getting started on an autism diet.
So the show might not be for everyone.
Right. Because I think lots of you probably know how to do that, but for some of you folks
who are overwhelmed and feel sick,
this is going to be important for you. It's basically 3 steps. And I'll outline those later, but it's 3 steps, and we'll talk about how to get started when you don't know how to get started.
So get your pen and paper
Yeah.
while we chat a minute.
And if not, you can at least watch the video and later on go through the podcast, because we'll put that up too. But anyway.
Our week this week was crazy. So Mark was experiencing intense feelings of emotion that were obsessive.
Yeah, a lot of fear-based stuff and this kind of thing. And I've always been a worrier. I got that from my mom's side of the family. And not just a mild worrier, but I worried about everything.
Obsessively.
Yeah. And I have spent, now the obsessive part, a lot of that came from the autism, but obviously I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive personality disorder. And what that means is I keep going on something, trying to figure it out until I do figure it out and fix it. And so that's what's happened. And I have spent the last almost 5 years constantly working on trying to get rid of my worrying. And I've been mostly successful, probably about 80 to 85%.
You're much better than you were.
Much better than I used to be.
So what happened this week is he had been off of the heavy metal detox smoothie for a while.
It hasn't been a normal thing for us for a few months.
Because the detox was too fast. So we were just using fruit. But he decided to go back on it this week. Well, with that, more emotions woke up.
Well, and I only did it about 2 days.
Yes, and
that was enough.
Thing is intense.
I had another one this morning, but the heavy metal detox smoothie is nothing to play with.
Right.
It will do its good work for you and benefit you. And so because of that, again, we got into a frictional situation a couple of times.
Which is, as you know, rare. We usually get along really well.
We do. And the problem, I won't say it's a problem, but when friction comes up between us and we do get in fights, we generally realize it's because new emotional abilities have come on for me.
Right. So we hold the phone on everything that's happening and say, maybe your emotions have come on more. And maybe I need to not react to you because you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Well, and that is the case because I've likened it to emotions that are coming on for a person who's coming out of autism, most especially an adult. The analogy, I think this is a pretty good analogy. I would liken it to this: giving somebody a gun, a loaded gun, not telling them that they can kill somebody with it, and not giving them any rules as to how to use it, and just say, hey, all you have to do to use it is pull the trigger. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to get hurt. Well, as an adult, and I was in my mid-40s when I started this, now I'm 50, all of this emotion coming out and coming on really changes a relationship. And fortunately, both her and I are strong enough or, I don't know,
stubborn?
Just jerky enough to just get along with it anyway and let it go. But we're also very forgiving. That probably really is the big issue.
That's probably the key right there.
That is. And we just let it go. But we run into these things quite a bit. And the heavy metal detox smoothie really does bring it out. And more intensely than the GAPS diet ever did.
Right.
And so interestingly enough, in the past, and this is still about worrying, in the past, I had on and off taken GABA, the powder, which is gamma aminobutyric acid. And it's a natural chemical that you make in your brain that calms down the excitability of neurons in your brain and of your nervous system. Well, I hadn't taken it in a long time, and I didn't remember noticing any kind of difference. But last night I thought, I'm going to take some.
Well, I had reread the supplement suggestions from Medical Medium on autism and ADHD, and GABA is one of the things he suggests for those conditions. And so I mentioned it.
And so I went and took a tablespoon of it,
which was way too much.
That was an extreme overdose. You're only supposed to take like quarter of a teaspoon.
Right.
But anyway, I was so calm. I was just sitting there letting the world go by, just going,
You got arrogantly calm.
Arrogantly calm,
yes.
Whatever that means. And you'll have to explain that since you said it.
Well, you were judging me at how.
Well, yeah, how it was funny because I got so calm. She seemed to be extremely hyper.
Yes.
Right. So a couple of times I said to her, "You're excited.
Yes.
You're hyper. What's
Very judgy.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, because see, now all kinds of emotions come out.
Yes.
And that started the friction between us, and we got through it, obviously.
Yeah, we're through it. We got it.
We're fine. But that started the friction between us, and we got into an argument over it. And I wound up saying, well, you're the problem because you're being this way and that way. But then I realized, no, it was really me and new emotions coming out. So I apologized and said I was the problem and was contrite.
And I said I would not react and instead would question what your motive was instead of assuming your emotional state.
Yep.
So felt like I had felt it before, but not from you.
Right, exactly. And so, but I can tell you this, for those of you folks who have excitable kids, bad behaviors and things like this, it's probably just the nervous system. So you might try the GABA. It's GABA.
And the one that Medical Medium recommends is Pharma GABA by Thorne.
And it's like $51. But if you can't or don't want to do the $51, then try another powdered form or capsule.
They also have a lower dosage that's 28.
Okay, Thorne does. So she's saying that Thorne has a lower dosage of the GABA for $28.
Right.
So
my concern is I can't take the GABA. I tried it again last night, and it made me feel like I couldn't breathe. And so I read that a lot of GABA is made out of a synthetic. What was that called?
It looked like it was pyrrolidinone, which is an industrial solvent.
Right. And I was like, maybe I am actually reacting to something that's made out of an industrial solvent. And this isn't pure GABA from natural sources. So I ordered the Thorne, the lower dosage, to see if I could take it as well. And some of the best stuff is produced in labs that use bacteria to produce the chemical. They just put the gene in the bacteria, and the bacteria produces the chemical, produces the GABA, which to me, that's a natural way to do it. And technically, yes, that is genetically modified. Just so you know, if you're going to ask, that's the answer. When you change the genes in a bacteria to something that it doesn't normally produce, yes, you are genetically modifying that organism. Okay, just to be clear. But anyway, so the GABA, that GABA is supposed to be the highest quality for right. And also, Mark has experienced much less worry today.
Yes, it puts you in a very calm state, and it's easy to control your thoughts. That you don't really tend to have much. You're just kind of existing, which is great, because as I became an older adult in my 30s and 40s, I worried a lot, and it got really, really bad. And the GABA really undercuts all of that, and it makes you really calm. So for those of you folks who have excitable kids, give it a try. It might work.
Well, and then you were talking about how all those thoughts you had without the GABA weren't there now, so does that mean they were real?
No. Well, and that's the thing. Because the GABA stopped those thoughts. See, all that stuff that was going on in my head didn't actually happen out here in the real world, so to speak. And so when the GABA made it go away, I just thought, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just not healed up enough, brain-wise, because if these thoughts go away with the right amount of GABA, which is a natural neurochemical, then maybe I'm just not producing enough for it to be normal. So I'm just not healed up enough yet.
Right.
But I'm getting there.
Yes.
And because I've done lots of EFT and forgiveness work over the past almost 5 years to get rid of the worry. And all of that work I did made a huge dent, but not enough of one, because my thoughts can still run out of control. So taking the GABA taught me last night that those thoughts aren't even real thoughts. They're just because my brain isn't completely healed yet. And that's what happens to thoughts when your nervous system isn't fully functioning or functioning correctly. We'll go with that. And so that actually gives me a revelation now. Thoughts mean nothing. They really
That's
they
why
really
you
don't.
choose your thoughts.
Because, well, but again, even choosing your thoughts, that'd be great, but you can only choose your thoughts when your brain isn't racing with thousands of other thoughts.
Right, but that would be what affirmations are.
Well, that's what affirmations are. And so, but if your brain isn't calmed down enough to be able to do the affirmations or to be able to focus, see, this improves focus too. Because, and muscle tone. This is important because ever since 2009, I had really bad muscle cramps. And I'm talking about muscle cramps that would last for 2 or 3, 4 minutes and then finally let go. But they were so painful, they would wake me up out of a sound sleep and I would have to get up and stand on my leg or stretch my arm or whatever else. And they got really bad, but the GABA really helped that. And I slept very well last night. So if any of your kiddos have muscle issues like cramps and that type of thing, get them on the GABA because I'm sure it'll help. Because it helped sleep a lot, quite a bit last night. It was a very nice sleep.
Just remember that some of us can't take it.
That's true. So
make sure you get a really pure form.
Exactly.
I'll let you know how it does for me, the one medical medium recommends.
Well, and you could just test it out.
Yeah, I just took 1/4 of a teaspoon and my chest got all tight and I felt like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, and she was in distress for about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
2 hours last night. It didn't fully go away until much later. That might have been why you didn't have the best sleep last night.
Could be.
So, but anyway, but that's been our experiences this week.
Right. Now, Mark had an idea.
Yeah.
Which we spoke to at the beginning.
And a lot of folks are overwhelmed when they find out their kid has an autism diagnosis. It starts there. I mean, a lot of us have the same physical issues as our kids are diagnosed with, and we just don't know it. And so we get overwhelmed just like that. I still get overwhelmed really pretty easily, and I don't like it, but it's just what is. So, and it does frustrate me. Now, maybe the GABA will help that.
Might help that. You've only done it for a day, not even a day.
And so the GABA might help that because, I would say that's an overly excited nervous system.
Yes.
So I bet you GABA will help overwhelm too.
And eventually you'll get well.
Exactly. And so with the whole overwhelming situation of a new autism diagnosis, you're already overwhelmed. And if you have the same physical issues or very similar physical issues to your kids, you've got the physical overwhelm too. So you've got the new diagnosis overwhelm and then the physical overwhelm because of the same conditions, because you have the same conditions or similar ones. Then comes, what do I do about it? All right. Well, you start talking to people and you get advice from every direction. Like one of our clients said last night, she said, thousands of people are shouting thousands of things at me and I don't know which is which. And I don't know where to go, right? And that's what prompted this idea, is because we introduced her to the medical medium diet. Because
she had tried GAPS.
She had tried GAPS.
I think
it was the Nemechek protocol and some other things, and they didn't work for for her little ones. And so we introduced her to the medical medium diet, and we talked to her last night and got her jump started on it. And actually, things seem to be going pretty well. There's some resistance because it's all brand new. I mean, they just started this morning, but and they're going through the little bumps and things like changing your diet causes, like gastrointestinal upset and that type of thing. But because she was so overwhelmed and didn't know where to get started, and she had hundreds of questions, not literally, but but because she had so many questions, we thought, well, you know what? For those of you folks who don't know how to start to get started, we'd outline something simple for you, and that way, if you had extra questions, we could answer them either in another live or online. But let me give you, this is a general guide to how to get started getting started. All right?
All right.
The first biggest thing you got to do is if you have decided on a diet you want to try. For instance, let's just use GAPS as an example. Okay? Say you've decided to use GAPS. Now, this is the first thing you do in anything. When you're researching or learning about anything, is this. You find the primary source. What I mean by primary source is the book that is the definitive text, so to speak, on the diet that you're talking about. Now, for GAPS, that is this book by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. Okay? What you do is you get the book and you start reading it. But a tip or trick. Michelle can read a book straight through. She's got the discipline to do that with just about any book, except for this latest medical medium book, which is nearly 600 pages, and it's like an organic chemistry textbook. But what you, yep. That's
medical medium.
If you're going to do
medical
that.
Medium. I can't do it right there. Those are my books.
Those are her books, and that's what you do. You get the book, okay, and you start reading it. But for those of you who are like me who can't read a book straight through, here's what you do. Open it up to the table of contents. All right, that's what the table of contents is in the GAPS book. There we go. Okay, there we go. Right? You open it up and you start at the top of the table of contents and you look and read the names of the chapters. If one of them interests you, you start reading that chapter. There you go. See, there's contents of the medical medium book. Is that the first one? Mm-hmm. Right? You open it up to the contents.
And the cool thing about an ebook is you can just press on the one you're interested in and it takes you to it. I love it.
No turning pages, no nothing. She loves that.
I love this.
I'd rather have the book. But you open it up to the table of contents, find a chapter that interests you, and you read that chapter. Why? Because as you read that chapter, you're going to be interested in something else that chapter talks about that's somewhere else in the book.
Yeah, you'll go, wait, how did that happen? Right.
And then you'll go and you'll find that chapter in the table of contents again. Some books don't have indexes anymore. The GAPS book does. There is a table, there is an index in that. In the medical medium books and a lot of the books from Hay House, there are no, hey Jody, how are you? And in some books from some publishers, there is no index. There's only a table of contents, and that's frustrating.
Yes, but if you get the ebooks, you can do the search.
Right. And in ebooks, you don't need one because you can just search for the word you're looking for.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I do that a lot.
So
I did it yesterday.
Exactly. So that's the first thing you do. You get the definitive text on the diet and you read it.
Yes.
If you can't read it straight through, that's fine. Just find the chapter that interests you and start reading there.
And the cool thing about medical medium, well, also GAPS.
Yeah.
The diets are on their websites.
Yes. And that was the next thing. Hey, Mom. My mom joined. That's the next thing. The diets, you look for a secondary source, okay? And that's going to be either a website online, not necessarily by the author of the definitive text, right? but the GAPS diet has has a website called www.gapsdiet.com, right?
There it is.
And that's what it looks like. There apparently is more updated version than that website, I heard recently from somebody. And
Maybe they updated this one.
Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, we can find that out if somebody wants to know. But you find the website. A secondary source is a source by someone who isn't necessarily the inventor or the originator.
Right. So we would be the secondary source of these diets.
Exactly. Right. So our group, Judy Ryder Duffy's group, for those of you folks who are part of that. Lindsay Carey, she's a secondary source because she talks about the GAPS diet a lot. Hey, Jody. Jody said hi. And so you want to find a secondary source because then you get to find interesting things like this. You can find groups online, like support groups. You can find local support groups that might be in your area to go to. And
here's the Medical Medium website.
Right.
So much information on here.
And this is a lot of stuff. But here's something else. If you're overwhelmed, take some GABA before you sit down and start researching. Seriously. Take a little bit of GABA if you feel overwhelmed, and then about 30 minutes later after it kicks in, you can sit down and go through this calmly. You don't have to go through all of this information. Our client last night that we were talking to, she was definitely overwhelmed, but we kept telling her, look, just do the simple things now.
Yeah, just do these
just
things
get
for
some
now.
fruit.
Yeah.
Start eating some fruit. No, you don't have to do the heavy metal detox smoothie. She did it anyway.
She did it.
And she did the celery juice.
Yeah.
But so she really went a long way in just a short amount of time. But she was able to move her overwhelm aside to be able to do it.
We were able to help clarify, though.
Exactly.
That really helped her.
Right. Because, well, but she would definitely have had to have moved that overwhelm out of the way to get our clarification, I think. I mean, because we did help do that. We sat down and answered dozens of questions because she needs that kind of help.
It.
And so and I'm going to put in a plug for our services here. We do handhold like that. Right now, for anybody who's interested, and I think if you're getting started on this would be awesome. It's $100 a month, right, for unlimited question answering.
No, we're not on call.
No, we're not, but we can answer your questions as we get to you. That's what we do for our other clients.
Full-time jobs.
Right, we do until we have this as a full-time.
Right.
Job. And well, Jody, since you asked that question,
a really good question, then we have an answer.
We do have an answer. We had one of our friends here on the page ask, can you do both? This was some months back. I think it was in March. She said, can you do GAPS and do Medical Medium at the same time? And I said that we both said we didn't recommend it. She tried it anyway because she already had her son on GAPS. Mm-hmm. And so
she did the Medical Medium. The heavy metal smoothie, right?
Yeah, and put him on the heavy metal detox smoothie and
did she do
other
fruit?
Juice? I don't think so. And she did other fruit. Well, because she did that, she saw regressions, and it was about 2 weeks straight of behavior that was out of the ordinary for him. If I'm remembering this correctly, it's been about. She
spoke to this on the group that we have.
Mm-hmm. On the closed group.
Yes.
Okay. On the closed or secret group that we have, and she finally let go of the GAPS diet and put him entirely on the Medical Medium diet because there was just too many obstacles behaviorally in the way, I think.
She may have, because she did mention that she was concerned about all the fat, and she may have seen a difference on a day, maybe that there was less fat than another day. I don't know. She didn't speak exactly.
She wasn't
succinct about that, but she did mention worrying about fat.
So I would not do both diets at the same time. If you're on one diet, if you can wean off, do it. Cold turkey is hard. We've done cold turkey. We
because
don't.
we're weird.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We're weird. We jump in and do things with both feet, and we wait around until we're successful.
Right. And if we're not, we find something else.
Yeah, exactly. And so the medical medium has been tied up all the loose ends of the gaps left for us.
And so we definitely are. We're not going to say don't do the gaps, but we are going to say definitely do the medical medium.
Yes, the gaps can be good. For me, the gaps I think was necessary before I could do the medical medium. It's a case-by-case basis because none of our clients have had the same experiences on the same diets. They just haven't. And so we can't say definitely do this diet and this diet.
Yes, it's going to be up to each individual person what they feel it out to be.
Exactly. So don't do both diets at the same time unless you need to wean someone off of one of the diets to the other. But the medical medium diet seems to be the best for kids. It just does.
Yeah, it's so easy to get kids to eat sugar, which is what fruit is.
Yeah, and adults, on the other hand, that's an entirely different story, and I think that would be even more on a case-by-case basis.
Well, and we even discussed how the medical medium diet has thrust Mark forward in the emotion area. And if he had started with medical medium, it might have been way too hard to assimilate into the social world.
Yeah, because the emotions
was slower.
Yeah, the emotions didn't come on gradually on the medical medium. They did on the gaps.
Yeah.
And while Oklahoma is a very forgiving place as far as
social snafus.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Other places may not have been, but I needed that coming out of autism because I didn't know what my emotions would do to other people.
Right, as we evidenced this week.
Or what it would do for myself, for that matter.
Yeah.
So, as she said, as evidenced this week, in which case you'll have to go back and listen to the
beginning.
Entire video now. So, but anyway, but no, Jody, one or the other, or wean off of one to the other if you can. So, and then let me get to the final step, since we're still talking about how to getting started. The first step was this: find a primary source, the definitive text, like for the gaps or for medical medium, like she showed you. Read it. If you can't read the book straight through, then find a chapter that does appeal to you. Read that, because then that will lead you to other places to read in the book.
And that is actually how I've been reading the Liver Rescue book.
Right,
because
some
it's
books
just
are
so
just
huge.
Some books overwhelm you.
Yeah, that one is like a textbook.
And there you go. If you're overwhelmed, take a little bit of GABA and then let it kick in 30 minutes later.
Unless you're me, because I want to be able to breathe.
Well, true. And but if you can take GABA, take that and then do your research, because that will really help calm your excited nervous system down. All right, third step: applying the information. Okay, this is important, because why read about all this stuff if you're not going to do something with it? All right. As an ASPE, that's all I ever did was collect information. I was an information collector. Yes. Most ASPEs are that way.
He was a hoarder.
Yeah, I was a hoarder of information. That's a good way to put it. A mental hoarder.
Yes.
And but I never did anything with it. Now, what you realize is life is doing something with the information you get. That's what it is. So, applying the information, step 3. First thing, look at lists of required and permitted foods. All right, the GAPS book has a list. It has a list of foods you can eat and foods you can't eat. Medical medium has foods you do not eat.
Well, it also has foods to eat. There's the 28-day cleanse that's even out in menu form.
Okay.
There's also a thyroid protocol that's a completely different diet, and now he's got a liver thing. And a lot of these are just things to do, like the Liver Rescue is for 9 days only.
Right. To whereas the 28-day cleanse is for 28 days.
But he says in that book, if you want to continue eating this way, this is a good way to eat.
Mm-hmm.
The 28-day cleanse.
So that's what you do. You look at all the lists of the required permitted foods and the non-permitted foods. Why? Next step. You're going to look at recipes. No, you don't go shopping first. You look at recipes first. Okay? Or you can take the recipes with you while you're shopping. Just don't go hungry.
Well, like today, we I said, hey, do you know that recipe that he had that was
Are you talking about the
the
maple
Brussels
roasted
sprouts, the maple roasted?
roasted Brussels
He
sprouts?
said, pull that up. Let's see what that is.
Yeah.
And so we bought it.
Yeah.
Bought the ingredients.
So take your phone with you and look it up.
Yeah.
And or take the recipe.
Take
book.
the book. Take a picture
The cookbook.
out of the book.
Yeah, exactly.
With your phone.
So look at recipes is step 2. Step 3, shop. Okay, duh, that makes sense, right? Well, some people are so overwhelmed they can't be logical.
So like Whole Foods, you can shop online now.
Yeah, you can. You can get it delivered to your house, or you can shop at
Through
Walmart
Amazon.
if they have the organic stuff, or not, whatever you need.
Whatever your diet is.
However it works. Now, step 4, after you shop, you take it all home and you cook or prep. Now, on the GAPS diet, you do a lot of cooking because it is cooking. And on the medical medium diet, you don't do quite so much cooking. It's mostly prep of veggies and fruits. And prep, I mean, washing on the outside or cutting or blending up into fruit smoothies, whatever. That's step 4, cooking or prepping. Step 5, eat it. Because so many clients, they go and buy the stuff, and then I'll ask them, have you had any yet? Well, no, I had such and such and such and such. They ate something off the list of non-permitted foods.
Yeah, don't have stuff in your house that isn't permitted.
Yeah, if you can get rid of it, do it. Because
take it to a food pantry.
Yeah, let somebody else have it. And so, but aside from that, you have to eat it. So many times we tell clients, have you eaten any fruit this morning? Well, half a banana. No. You got to eat a couple bananas, a handful of dates, a couple of oranges, whatever. You have to eat so that you're full. And on the medical medium diet, you have to eat every 2 hours. Truthfully, even on the GAPS, you have to eat just about every 2 hours because you need the broth and you need the fat and that type of stuff to heal your gut up. And now, does that fatten your liver up?
Yes. So that's
if you have a liver that doesn't process. But that can be taken care of later, which is what I'm doing now with the medical medium diet. But let me give you in the big step 3, applying the information, let me give you the smaller steps over again. Step 1, look at the list of required permitted foods. Look at lists of non-permitted illegal foods. All right. Step 2, look at recipes. Take them with you to the grocery store. Step 3, shop. Step 4, cook or prep. 5, eat it. You brought it all home and you're doing it for everybody else, but if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to know if they're healing? That's why we tell people you need to do the diet with them, because undoubtedly most parents I know of autistic kids have many issues themselves.
Right.
So if you're healing, you're going to know what's right and wrong, and you'll feel better, and you'll have the central nervous system of yours going to capacity to be able to help them when you can. So do the diet with them. Eat the stuff you make. Just eat it.
Yes.
Okay?
Eat it.
Exactly.
Eat it.
Play Michael Jackson in the background. Well, actually, that was Weird Al.
Weird Al.
That was Weird Al. Weird Al Yankovic in the back. He parodied Michael Jackson's song.
Yeah.
But
what's going on in your pocket?
I thought there was those little things we put on the containers at Whole Foods with the little twist eyes. But anyway.
Is that relevant to now?
Well, it felt like there was one in there. So no, it was relevant only because I thought there was one in there. But see, but anyway, as far as that goes, eat it. But let me recap the 3 big steps. Find your primary source. Find the textbook. Read it. Number 2, find the secondary source, whether it's a group online, us, a local support group, articles or books about it, not necessarily by the author or originator. Read those too. Okay. Step 3, applying the information. All right. You can rewind this and go back for the smaller steps under step 3. I'm not going to do those again. Okay. What else do we have to do?
That's it.
I think that's all we had to talk about. So we'll see you guys later next week.
Bye.
Bye.